Hey everybody, I'm Jen Mayer, and I'm here with this week's Small Group Extra, or Midweek Moment. And this week our theme is paying attention to people. And it's part of our Unstuck series. And the reason that we want to pay attention to other people is because God so frequently uses other people as a means to speak to us. So the first question we might ask is, which people should we pay attention to? And as Father Mike suggested in the message this week, a good starting point are people that care about you because they have your best interest at heart. They don't have any reason to deceive you, but they also have the advantage of not being you, which means they can see things that you can't always see because of the stories you've told yourself. The assumptions you've made, like they don't actually live within the same narrative you do. And so they are able to see things more freely. And I think that is good. When you're making a decision, that is good, solid advice to talk to other people. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about today is to be careful not to limit yourself just to that inner circle. Because God can use anyone to talk to us and to reach out to us when he needs to get our attention. And it's very easy for us to dismiss advice because we dislike the source. And we've all gotten very good at this. So what news channels do you think have reliable news? And I'm willing to bet it's only a handful. And your handful might be completely different from my handful, but you will argue with me to our deaths about why yours is right and mine is wrong. Or maybe we'll discover, hey, we're right, and we can talk to each other and we'll dismiss the whole rest of the world, even though we know that that's not wise either. But we've gotten to this point where, oh, I heard it on this source, well, then it can't possibly be true. Oh, that person doesn't like me. They're not looking out for you. They couldn't possibly have anything useful to say. Well, I wouldn't presume goodwill, but there are times when God needs to get outside of our inner circle to get our attention. Or to help us break through some of those preconceived notions that are in fact the things that are keeping us stuck. And to talk about that, I want to go to our gospel story that we heard this week. So we heard the story of Jesus calling the disciples from the Gospel of John. And as you recall, John the Baptist points out to Andrew and another disciple that that's the Messiah. And so they go and follow him. And then Andrew goes and grabs his brother Peter. And so Peter comes along and they kind of have this great first day. And then our gospel story ends. But if we were to continue reading, it picks up the next day. And the next day they run into their friend Philip. And Philip is soon brought on board that this is the real thing. And so he tells his friend Nathaniel, hey, Nathaniel, we found Jesus. He's the son of Joseph of Nazareth. And Nathaniel, without missing a beat, has one of the great one-liners of the gospel, says, can anything good come from Nazareth? And, here's a guy who is willing to completely disregard God in flesh, Jesus in the person, because of where he was born. And so if Nathaniel can make that mistake with God, we can all make that mistake too. And so sometimes God needs to use people from outside our inner circle to get our attention. And so what I'd like to suggest is that when someone you're not necessarily best buds with gives you advice, to consider the advice before dismissing the source. Because again, if Philip and Nathaniel hadn't been friends, Nathaniel would have walked away. But because they were buddies, and Philip was so convinced, he was able to kind of use that as a reason for Nathaniel to stick around long enough to find out. And so what we want to do is we want to hang around with advice long enough to find out whether it has any merits and then figure out if it's from God. So here's 2 questions I want to leave you with. How open are you to receiving God's message from people outside your inner circle? And second, and related, is there any advice that people are giving you right now that you need to pay attention to that you would have otherwise dismissed?